unfortunately, not everybody is liking Tony Khan right now. And one of those people that may have a problem with him is Ariel Helwani. So recently, Tony Khan was a guest on Ariel Helwani's show. And after the show went on the YouTube channel of Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour, he brought this up. And he said that Tony Khan was, quote, one of the most frustrating and to a degree not so fun interviews of my career. And the reason why he brought this up is because he was bringing up the fact that Ariel Helwani was trying to ask tough questions and Tony Khan would not answer, whether it was, is CM Punk going to wrestle? How are you feeling about the situation? And whatever the case may be. Now, it is still going through legal action and whatever the case may be under investigation. So I see Tony Khan's point in not commenting about this and probably can't from a legal aspect and does not want to answer things. But at the same time, you have fans calling out Ariel Helwani for being a hypocrite, for calling Tony Khan and saying, you're not answering the tough questions, but Triple H was recently on your show and you did not give any hard questions to him. I did not listen to either interview with Triple H or Tony Khan, but Ralph, you did.
Yes.
Can you confirm with some of the people's backlash that Tony Khan got hard questions and Triple H did not?
I don't think Tony Khan got hard questions. I think Tony Khan got questions that anyone would expect to be asked. He chose not to answer some of those, which legally maybe he couldn't. And that's fine. And I also felt like Ariel Helwani also asked Triple H some questions that were maybe, I don't know if challenging is a word, but stuff that you would hope that he would ask. Now, he asked about the backstage altercation between the Young Bucks and CM Punk. He didn't really, people are like, oh, he didn't challenge him. Well, he didn't necessarily go at Tony Khan in a very forward, forceful manner. He asked the question. If Tony Khan said, I can't talk about that, but I appreciate you asking. He literally said that 5 times. He just said, this is literally what Ariel Helwani would respond. Fair enough. Let's move on. That's what we would say. It wasn't like pressing, okay, you got to give me something. The one time he pressed him was when I think he asked him how he felt about the fallout with CM Punk, and he refused to answer it. He also refused to answer a question about how MJF's contractual obligation or situation, how he feels about him using that as a part of his gimmick and his storyline. He didn't really care to comment on that. I don't think that's really that controversial of a question. He also asked him, I believe, about Bray Wyatt, and he kind of refused to answer questions about that. And, I can understand him not wanting to answer questions about the backstage fight. I get that. But I really never got the sense that Ariel Helwani really pushed back for answers if Tony Khan didn't want to answer something. The one thing I will say is this. When I was listening to it, I did feel like Ariel Helwani had this undertone of disinterest. Didn't really seem like he was into the conversation or the interview. And that could have been because he didn't think that it was a good interview based on what Tony Khan was answering. I felt like he did ask Triple H some challenging questions. And if Triple H went to him and approached him and was like, look, I know you're going to ask about Vince. Don't ask about it. I can't answer questions about it. I feel like if, Tony Khan had said that to him, look, I know you're going to ask about the Young Bucks fight. Don't ask about it. I can't answer it. I would imagine that Ariel Helwani's professional enough to not ask him that.
Right.
I do think that he asked Triple H some questions that I would think were, I don't know if challenging is the right way to do it, but the right way to word it, but he asked him about Bray before he was signed. He asked him about Sasha. He asked him about the perception of the mid-card titles and how if Triple H feels he has to, right a wrong or overcome a fan perspective of those titles and the misuse of them. He asked about Brock Lesnar walking out. So, I can't say I necessarily agree with, he gave Triple H softball questions. I feel like, look, if you're a WWE fan, you're going to say that, Tony Khan, blah, 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 did refuse to answer questions. And if you're an AEW fan, you're going to say, he didn't challenge Triple H. I thought both conversations were revealing in their own right. I thought that Triple H, in all honesty, was probably more forward than Tony Khan was, and Tony Khan was more reserved. I can understand why Ariel Helwani was a little frustrated because he didn't give him a whole lot of controversial soundbite stuff, but
as a journalist, you're trying to get information out there, and that's your job as a journalist, as an interviewer, whatever the case may be, to get those questions that people want to know. Tony Khan, in his right, though, whether it's legal action or not, he does not have to answer them. He does not have to comment. And I praise Tony Khan for sticking to his guns, sticking to the situation, knowing he can't answer things, and he's not going to answer things. We've seen this time and time and time again, that things get quoted out of context in podcasts all the time. And people tend to read just the headline, just the quote, and don't comment based on that. And they don't listen to the full podcast or the full interview or get the full context. We recently saw the same thing with Jimmy Smith on his show, where people took his quote and were saying, oh, he's bashing Roman Reigns, or Roman Reigns hates him, and that's why Jimmy Smith is no longer part of the Raw broadcast team. When all it was he's answering a question that Daniel Cormier doesn't look like a fighter anymore. Roman Reigns looks like a guy that is a big bodybuilder, but he's not a fighter. Whatever the case may be, whatever the story was, and got taken out of context. I think Tony Khan just simply does not want something taken out of context, especially when there's legal involvement here. There's nothing wrong with that. Helwani saying the frustration, that's fine. But then going after AEW fans and saying, oh, you're going to get pissed off at me, and then going on Twitter and basically trying to create this AEW fans hate me narrative, which, trust me, I try to avoid Twitter as much as I can, but when I get on there, I see it on both ends. The WWE can do no wrong. The AEW can do no wrong. Even in our babble section, our comment section, you got people that will just defend everything one of the other promotions will do. And it's freaking annoying sometimes. But attacking the fans when they're not really involved in this, that's one of those things that you learn in debate class, or when you're learning to debate. Once you start insulting, you've lost the debate.
It should be above this.
Exactly. But yeah, he's still like commenting on, oh, look at the IWC, look at the AEW fans getting back at me. Like, dude, just mute them.